that's true. Naked Palpatine.
Oh, you pick that one. Fresh out of the clone tank, nude Palpatine is my
Well, that's the first thing I think of when you say Dark Empire Palpatine.
Alright, I usually don't do this, but I was asked on Instagram, I guess for the first time ever, somebody asked me to basically like review their book. So I don't know. I don't usually do that. I usually read whatever I want. So I didn't not that I didn't want to read it, but I didn't want to particularly dedicate a whole video to it and make it be like, oh no, I didn't want to like make it seem like I was affected in any way, shape, or form by being asked by it. And of course I want to be kind and loving because somebody asked me to do that. So I'm gonna give my thoughts along with some other things before I get to the titular title of the video. I want to talk about what I read in April, which I never do, which will give you current up-to-date knowledge of what I've been reading, which all the stuff I'm discussing you won't see till far later in the year, like near the end. But in the month of April, I read the Iliad, the Odyssey, and the Aeneid. So the Iliad and the Odyssey by Homer in preparation for the Odyssey in July, and I read the Aeneid by Virgil. And I enjoyed them all immensely. I think I enjoyed the Iliad a little bit more, as you'll see in my reviews later on. We'll discuss it. But in going back and reading these stories, I know I read the Odyssey in high school, and I thought it was fine. But I've really come to appreciate these stories a lot more in the current day. Now that I'm getting into reading, larger things, more, classic and contemporary work. So I think I prefer the Iliad a little bit more, and I like the Aeneid a lot because it's by Virgil, who basically, continued the story of the Iliad and Homer to explain how Romans came to exist. And it was very much a big piece of propaganda in his time of day when he was writing it. But it also is just written beautifully, and I enjoy seeing the dynamic of the Trojans becoming the Romans, and the Carthage chapters just chef's kiss. As well as this month, or the month of April, I read All the Pretty Horses by Cormac McCarthy, my final McCarthy novel for the year. I will of course be reading more in 2027. But like I said, I record my videos massively ahead of time. So the last Cormac McCarthy video you'll see will be of All the Pretty Horses, but I probably will have read more McCarthy before the end of the year, but we'll see. And I really enjoyed it. It's definitely not as good as like The Road or Blood Meridian, but it has all those wonderful moments of the quietness. Like there's scenes between the main character and his dad, or the scenes with him in prison, and all that stuff just works wonders. And it's a fantastic novel, and I really enjoyed it. And then last but not least, the thing that probably affected me the most last month in April was the Divine Commedia by Dante. I read the Divine Comedy. It's Inferno, Purgatorio, and Paradiso. And I read all three of them. I even read different translations. I was that invested. And it is one of those works of fiction that for me truly just transcends. Like it's a transcendent work of art next to the likes of Hamlet and others such things. So I thought Inferno was a lot of fun. It felt very fan-fiction-y at times, but the prose increases immensely once, well, I guess not prose because it's verse, but the writing just improves significantly by Purgatorio and by Paradiso, and it's just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I quickly found one of my favorite books of all time by reading the Divine Comedy. So that's pretty much all my reads of April. And of course, you will see those videos way down the line. This will be coming out in like September, October in your time. So if that's any case for you to know how far ahead I am in my recordings, that's how far ahead I am. In fact, I'm starting my November recordings as of this time. This is my only current upload that I don't do that too often. So you have a sneak peek as to the future and kind of a knowledge of where I'm at right now. in terms of my upload schedule. I'm months ahead. And then on to the titular arc review, which was the Shadow and the Scepter, Mehns Mori. I don't know how you say it. Mehns Mori. It's kind of confusing. Mehns Moria. I'm trying to. How do I pronounce it? It's kind of hard to say. I don't know. But the arc review I got, and I'll leave it in the description, the full title and everything. And it should be coming out on the 19th of this month. And basically, the author came to me. He was like, "Yo, you want to read this?" And I was like, "Sure, I'll check it out." Especially because I was getting into my Iliad and Odyssey readings, and I figured it's the perfect. It is a fantasy series or story with like the ancient Greek background, which I thought was neat because, you know, I was already in that kind of zone of doing the ancient Greek stuff because I was getting ready for the Odyssey in July. So I thought that was a perfect opportunity to check that out. And what I want to say is that I think that the world building, really great. It feels very classic fantasy while having a lot of the modern pacing of the day, if that makes sense. Like an apt comparison, I think if you really love the Wheel of Time and how the Wheel of Time will have the objective good and evil, but also have the moral complexity with the political stuff going on, you get that with this book. There's also a lot of fantasy does this, but you have a sort of found family with the main characters. And personally, I can't say that any of them really touched my heart. I liked them all well enough, but nobody really stood out to me particularly. I also didn't particularly find the prose anything exceptional. My favorite character is probably Vladimir, who's kind of the main antagonist of this book, who's sort of like a vampire. And I thought that character, well, the most interesting part of the book for me was probably that opening section with him. And I think if we had been introduced to the villain first and slowly over time throughout the book learn more about his backstory, I think that would have made it a little bit stronger. But I didn't write the book. It's not mine to say what is or isn't better. This is what they wanted, so that is how it is. And it's fine how it is. I just think I could have been more emotionally attached if it just had done things a little bit differently, I guess. But overall, I think it's fine. I think it's a solid read. Like I said, if you enjoy Wheel of Time, you're going to really enjoy this. And if you enjoy Wheel of Time and you enjoy Greek mythology, then you have found your perfect blend here with this story, I think. It also has like art for every chapter, and it very much reminded me of those hyperspace Star Wars novels that we got that were focused on like Han Solo and had the fun little art in every chapter. I thought that was great. So the world building is great. The characters are solid enough. Nobody that particularly personally stood out to me, but they worked for what they were going for. And like I said, I love ancient Greece stuff. I love a lot of that mythology and whatnot. So having it all there with magic and stuff is a lot of fun. But yeah, there was also nothing that particularly really stood out to me either. It was a solid, enjoyable time. But I can't, and again, this may be my fault because in between all that reading, I'm also, you know, while I was reading that, I'm also reading The Divine Comedy by Dante and All the Pretty Horses and all this stuff, which is kind of hard to, you know, go from that to this, I think. It's kind of like going from Malazan to Wheel of Time, just back and forth. It's a little jarring. But if you were a big fan of, you know, if you like Tad Williams, if you like Robert Jordan, if you like Brandon Sanderson, I think you'll find a lot to be gained by reading this, especially if you enjoy Greek stuff. So, yeah, I guess that's overall my thoughts. It's fine. It's a solid, fun time, but also it was not particularly. I guess it's nothing that I haven't particularly seen before, other than the setting, which was a unique thing to do for fantasy work, which is to use the Greek stuff, which I thought was fun. So, overall, that's my thoughts. And hopefully you check out the book. Everybody should form their own opinion, regardless of what I say. Like I said, if you really love Wheel of Time, I think you're going to get a real big kick out of this. It just reminded me a lot of Wheel of Time, and I've been struggling to Wheel of Time, so maybe that's why I also was a little adverse to it. I don't know. But I had to find enough time with it. And I think you'll enjoy it if you enjoy Wheel of Time. Or any of those old classic fantasy series. but with modern pacing. And by modern pacing, I just mean everything's a bit more quicker. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, or don't. I don't really care. These videos are going to come out regardless. So, but yeah, and thank you for, if the authors are watching, thank you for allowing me to read it a bit early. I appreciate being asked to do such a thing. And I think the thing is that, you know, I want to be kind, and I appreciate the fact that I'm being asked to do that, but I also never want to overhype something that I don't personally feel is, or underhype either. So I give my expectation, or not my, I gave my perspective, I gave how I personally felt, but I still think it is worthy of everyone's time to at least check out and see if you will enjoy it yourself, because everybody's tastes and preferences are going to be a little bit different. And yeah, so anyway, till next time, guys. See ya.